Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel EduVibe. Today we will start with another topic of matter and the chemical bonding, which is the naming and the writing formulas of the molecular substances. Today lesson we will by the end of this we will learn that what are molecular substances, what are molecular elements, how can we name, how can we write this. So all the things we will discuss today in this lesson. So let's move on to the what are the molecular substances. So the very simple kind of definition for this, like that molecule. So molecule is the independent unit made of a fixed number of non-metallic atoms held together by covalent bonds. So as I told you that molecular substances are more likely related with covalent bonds. So by the next lesson, we will discuss about the covalent bondings. So by doing this, to be more clarity of this topic, that molecular substances are more likely with covalent bonds and how. So for this, you have to know that how we can name or write that molecular substances. So the molecule is an independent unit. So it's an independent unit and they're made of the fixed numbers of the non-metallic atoms. And they held together by the covalent bonds. So for example, we have H2 gas, we have CO2 gas, we have CH4 gas, we have a PO4 3 minus aqueous. So these all are the forms of molecular substance which are made of like the fixed number of that H2, that hydrogen has two of them only. They don't have like three or four. That CO2 has a fixed number of CO2, that C has one molecule and O2 has the two of them. Then CH4, that C has 1, H has 4. They're fizzed. And that 4, O has 4, P has 1, and they have the charge of 3 negative on this. Basically, if you know this, so you can know that what covalent bonds then do. Covalent bonds then often do the sharing of electrons. The sharing of electrons do by this type of molecular substances. So we can see that over there, like we have a baking soda, this is like a chloroform, urea, ammonia, we have hydrochloric acid. These all are like of the things we have to know. You know these things, like these are regular basis terms you discuss. So these are all the molecular substances, and some of them are in our body too. Okay, so you have to know this, like what are molecular substances, and the molecular substances are also have their molecular elements. Later on, they also have their compounds too. So elements, like molecular elements, do not exist naturally. So keep in mind that molecular elements are not held naturally. They do not like naturally or originate. So as the single atoms, they consist of two or more non-metallic atoms. So either they have two, either they have more of the non-metallic atoms of the same element joined by the covalent bond. If we have a single element, so this means we have a molecular element, and they have two or more non-metallic atoms they have. So we have two types of elements. So we have a diatomic and we have a polyatomic. So diatomic means that composed of two atoms of the same element joined by a covalent bond. So we have only two atoms of that specific element and they joined by the covalent bond. So covalent bond means they joined by their sharing electrons. When they sharing the electrons, so they can get those elements. So like for example, we have hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. So what are the formulas for this? So hydrogen is H2, nitrogen is N2, O2 for oxygen, fluorine is F2, chlorine is Cl2, bromine is Br2, and then iodine is I2. So they all have two. So if they all have two atoms, so they are the diatomic elements, or we can say diatomic molecular elements. In polyatomic elements, they compose of many atoms of the same element joined by the covalent bonds again. So now they have many atoms. So like phosphorus, sulfur, and ozone. So like phosphorus have P4. They have more than two. Sulfur have S8. So they have more than two again. Ozone has O3. So these are called the molecular elements. So you all know that what are elements. Elements are those we can discuss, but when they held by one type of, like if you have two atoms, they have many atoms, so they will become the molecular elements. So that's how they differ from molecular substances. So molecular substances have fixed number of non-metallic atoms, but in this we have two types of things that either they have two atoms or they have two or more. So they are the common things, like these are structures they made. So their structures are made by the covalence, like this hydrogen is covalent by one single bond. We will discuss this in next lesson. This has a 3 bond, 2 bond, 1 1 1 and 1. So this is not like depend on that they have two or they have a greater than two. This is depend on what shading they done with the which other element. So depend on those. So diatomics are like this on the periodic table, and the polyatomic are often on this side, on the non-metal sides. So that's how it relates to this. So now we have a molecular compounds. So that molecular compounds, we have to naming of those. So molecular compounds has to be named, because if we deal with like these ones, this we have known that hydrogen, nitrogen, they are single things. They're also like these things also can be named sometimes, but we can know these things often. But if we get the more complex of things, so we have to name in those. So the molecular compounds are composed of two or more non-metallic atoms of a different element joined by covalent bonds. When the two or more non-metallic atoms they join by the covalent bonds of the different elements, so these are called the molecular compounds. So how can we name them? So name of molecular compounds are done by first write the first element we have, then write the second element, and change the ending to "ide." Everything is that ending to "ide." Add prefix to each element name to indicate the number of atoms. If mono prefix is not used on the first element, so if in the first element we use mono, so not valid. So what is mono? So these are the prefix. So if one of the atoms, so it's mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hesa, hepta, octa, nona, and deca. So these are the numbers followed by this. So mono is not used as the first element, and if the name of the element begins with a vowel or a or the o on the end of the prefix is dropped. So then the end of the prefix is dropped. Then we will discuss how it can work. So let's name some of the molecular compounds. So first we have N2O3. So we all know N is nitrogen and O is oxygen, is more like oxide if there is a second. So N2 have 2, so this means we have a di, which is Di. So we have di nitrogen, and this is 3, so this means tri, and we know this is oxygen also to all the oxide, so it's trioxide. Now do we write with trioxygen? This is wrong. I have to write the trioxide of this instead of this. This is wrong. So for the next one we have SO2, that S is sulfur. This is one of this with that I write mono in that first thing. So this is remains sulfur. Keep it in mind that if we naming the things, we have to in lowercase. So all the first words should be in lowercase. So it's sulfur. What is O? It's again di. So it's number 2. We have this one. So it's dioxide. So it's sulfur dioxide. Next one we have PO4O10. P is what? P is your phosphorus. So this we have 4. So this is tetra. So tetraphosphorus, and this is the 10. So this means the dec. So this is dec, and that's what is A, but we'll not drop that A because we have outside this. So it's dec outside. So it's tetraphosphorus dioxide. That's how we name this. So that's how its naming can happen. And if we have a reverse of this, so how this works. So firstly we have a carbon. So carbon has nothing from the prefix, so it stays C. And for monoxide gas, so mono means one and oxide means O. So we have only O and this is gas. We have to write the state of compound. As a solid tetraphosphorus dioxide. So this is the same we discussed. So this is P4O10 solid. This is how we can write this. And last, we have silicon disulfide. So what is silicon disulfide? So silicon is Si and it have no prefix on it. So it's Si. Sulfide, if we have sulfide, so it's sulfur, so it's S, and we have di, so it's 2. And this is in solid. So it's silicon disulfide. So that's why you have to chemical name of these molecule substances. So that's how the molecule substance naming and writing will happen. We just know the some things we have to measure, some rules we have to follow, then we are done with those. So learning by simple EduVibe, learn smarter but not harder. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, let me in the comment section. In the next lesson, we'll start with the covalent bonding theory, which is the more likely the whole rest of the unit depends on. So see you in the next lesson. Till then, stay connected with EduVibe.